Since childhood, I was betrothed to him, but he fell for another girl, pushing me towards his roommate. After we actually got together, he regretted it. He stopped us on campus, his eyes red, asking, "Didn't you want me to go back with you and get married?" The day Lily ventured to Z University to find Ryan caused quite a stir. Dressed in a simple water blue dress, with two long, raven braids cascading down her back and plain white canvas shoes, her style was both elegant and reminiscent of old photographs from the Republican era. But that wasn't the only reason for the commotion. What truly captivated everyone was the kite she carried, a colossal kite. Shaped like a majestic azure phoenix, it seemed almost alive, riding the wind on her slender shoulders. The Republican era girl with the kite walked across campus, oblivious to the stares and whispers around her, as if she were traversing a different era altogether. "Excuse me, can anyone tell me where I can find Ryan, a sophomore in the finance department?" It was the kind of question that might get you laughed at, but Ryan was something of a celebrity at Z University. After asking a few people, Lily finally found a bystander who pointed with a grin, eager to join the unfolding spectacle. "He's probably in the West Building, attending an elective." A small crowd, their curiosity piqued, followed close behind, eager to see what the big kite wanted with Ryan. The procession descended upon the classroom, startling the professor mid-lecture. Heads popped in through the doorway, murmurs spread like wildfire, and the whole room buzzed with speculation. Lily stood by the door, her lips pressed into a thin line. Her gaze swept across the room before settling on a figure in the corner. "Ryan," she said, enunciating each syllable. Her face remained composed, but a faint smile played on her lips. Every eye in the room turned as one. The boy named Ryan hadn't even had time to hide his face behind a textbook. He froze, his complexion turning ashen. After what felt like an eternity, he rose, his face conveying a sense of impending doom, and walked slowly towards the door. "Lily, what are you doing here?" He tried to keep his voice low, but Lily clearly didn't grasp his intention. Instead, in front of the increasingly curious audience, she replied calmly, "You haven't been back to the old town, so I had to come find you. Grandpa wants you to come back with me as soon as possible." She paused, and then dropped the bombshell, "to get married." The effect was seismic. For a moment, the classroom was silent, then it erupted. Marriage. Such an electrifying word. For university students of the new century, the idea of a childhood betrothal seemed almost unbelievable, a relic of a bygone era. Ryan, amid the uproar, felt his vision blurring. He almost fainted. But he couldn't. He had to salvage the situation, to get Lily, this agent of chaos, away from here. Most importantly, the girl he longed for was sitting right there, witnessing the whole thing. He had gone to great lengths to take the same elective as Claire. He had finally managed to get close to her, their budding relationship progressing at a steady pace. Now, just as he was about to confess his feelings, this happened. Fate was cruel. He was about to lose everything in front of Claire. Ryan lamented silently, then turned his gaze back to Lily, a hint of resentment now in his eyes. Ryan, born in March, Lily in June. One born to a family running a pawn shop, the other to a kite-making dynasty. Life in the ancient town was simple. The two families were longtime friends, their shops across from each other. Ryan and Lily's childhood betrothal could be said to have been decided before they were even born. Until he was 6, Ryan would swing a willow branch in front of Lily, teasing her, "My little wife." Everyone in town knew Lily was Ryan's little wife. Those were good times. They went to school together in town, flew kites in the spring, fished in the river, and walked home together in the sunset. It was an idyllic childhood, just as it should be. Lily was composed and steady, while Ryan was carefree and rebellious. When they were young, Ryan's mother often told Lily, "Your brother is not sensible. Let him have his way." Lily would listen and nod. In her interactions with Ryan, she was always the more accommodating one. She packed him lunches, washed his bike, and quietly smoothed things over with the adults when he misbehaved. When she learned how to make kites, the first one she made by hand had Ryan written on it. She was a little wife, in the truest sense of the word, never forgetting her little husband. Lily thought that these peaceful and uneventful days would last forever, but everything changed in the summer of one year. That summer was particularly hot. The cicadas buzzed incessantly in the trees, From across the street, the sounds of pots and pans being smashed echoed from the pawn shop, drawing neighbors to watch. Ryan's grandfather waved a broom, chasing Ryan's father, David, out the door. He gripped the door frame, furious. David, despite his disheveled appearance, stubbornly persisted. "Dad, sell the pawn shop." "What is this, the Stone Age? Outside, there are skyscrapers everywhere. You're still stuck in this old-fashioned way. How outdated can you get?" Ryan's grandfather was so angry that he almost spat blood. He brought the broom down on his son. "Get out, you unfilial son. This is the family business passed down by our ancestors. I'd sell you before I'd sell it. Get out." David was a very modern person. He was one of the first in town to go to university, and he had even studied abroad for a few years. When he came back, everything about him screamed westernized, which Ryan's grandfather mocked as fake foreign devil. He had been working far away and was the general manager of a large bank. This time, Ryan's grandfather had called him back with news that was nothing short of a thunderbolt. "I've looked after the pawn shop my whole life. Now it's time to retire. My children and grandchildren should take over. From today, you'll be the 26th generation successor to the pawn shop." David was ordered to immediately resign from his job at the bank and obediently inherit the pawn shop. Ryan's grandfather's tone was as firm and unyielding as ever. But was he kidding? David, of course, refused. Just like he had insisted on going abroad back then, he and Ryan's grandfather began a new round of World War. Amidst the chaos, neighbors rushed to mediate. Lily stood by the door of the kite shop, craning her neck to watch the battle, worried. Ryan, however, sat next to her, legs stretched out on the steps, nonchalantly eating a popsicle. "It's nothing. It will be okay after a while. I'm used to it. My dad comes back every year and argues with Grandpa. They never get anywhere anyway." He sounded like a little adult, his handsome eyes narrowed, casually glancing at the crowd surrounding his front door. But this time, he was wrong. Someone, in his rage, shouted, and David emerged from the crowd, angrily patting his suit. He stopped in front of Ryan eating his popsicle. "Son, tell me, would you like to go with Dad?" Ryan left. In that summer of buzzing cicadas, he followed his father, David, to study in the city. Lily's childhood seemed to darken overnight. From then on, she never celebrated Children's Day, because the person she celebrated it with was gone. How was Ryan persuaded by his father? It was simple: a high-end model, a genuine game console, and the latest mobile phone. David was triumphant. "Son, what's all this? The world outside is much more exciting than these things. Do you want to stay in the old town for the rest of your life, watching the pawn shop day after day, being narrow-minded?" Ryan was smart and learned quickly. Of course, he knew what narrow-minded meant. With a little thought, he shook his head resolutely. "I don't want to." With this shake of the head, the family's World War ended with David winning a great victory. He not only took away the 26th generation successor of the Ryan family pawn shop, but also abducted the future 27th generation successor, much to Ryan's grandfather's dismay, who cried, "Family misfortune." When Ryan left, Lily never stopped crying. She rarely cried from childhood to adulthood, unless she was extremely upset. That day, she gave Ryan the kite she had spent several nights making. Ryan took it, scratching his head with a grin. "What are you crying about? It's not like I'm never coming back. I'll still come back to the old town every winter and summer vacation. Then we can play together." Boys mature later than girls, and their nerves are thicker. They never know what girls are being sentimental about, but by the time they realize it, it is too late. Later, Ryan did return to the old town during winter and summer vacations, but something changed quietly over the years. For example, he no longer squatted in front of Lily's kite shop eating popsicles. When asked about it, he shook his head. "It's indecent." For example, his tastes became more discerning, and his aesthetics were very different from when he was a child. He was never satisfied with Lily's new clothes. Ugly, so corny. For example, he would still pat her head and ride his bicycle to take her on excursions, but he would never call out that phrase again. Little wife. A group of childhood friends were playing by the river, and some gossipy boys asked, winking, about Lily. Ryan waved his hand. "Come on, what is this? Why are you still talking about childhood sweethearts from back then? It was just a joke when we were kids. You can't take that seriously, can you?" Amidst the splashing water, Everyone laughed and joked, unaware that Lily had come to deliver food. She stood behind the small hill, her shadow lengthened by the sunset. No one knew how long she stood there, but eventually, she wiped her eyes, gently put down the lunchbox, and quietly left. The year Ryan went to university, Lily officially took over the Ryan family kite shop. Ryan glared at Lily, feeling exasperated. Are you crazy? You have such good grades. Why don't you go to university? Lily was making a kite. Hearing this, she stopped, but did not speak. Ryan became even more sympathetic to her misfortune. Just for this kite shop? I mean, society is so developed now. Why are you still doing this old-fashioned thing? It's so outdated. These words were too familiar. Many years ago, Ryan's father had said them. The Ryan family fathers were cut from the same cloth in this regard. This time, Lily finally reacted, raising her head. Her fair face was calm and unhurried, as soft as the endless river of the old town. Yes, society is so developed now, but someone has to inherit the ancestral craftsmanship, otherwise, wouldn't it die out? Chinese people value the culture of roots, passed down from generation to generation. Unlike the Ryan family pawn shop, the Ryan family kite-making skills needed someone to inherit them even more. Chinese civilization has a long history. Many ancient skills are able to survive in the rapidly developing modern society thanks to generations of craftsmen. The craftsman's spirit will live forever. Ryan didn't want to be the successor to the pawn shop, but Lily took over the kite classic and willingly became the new generation, young owner of the kite shop. She didn't think there was anything wrong with it. This was the land where she was born and raised. She loved the sky, the earth, and the kite. More importantly, she had a sense of mission. She was happy to pass on the ancient skills of the Ryan family. However, this time, he went to university and she stayed at the kite shop. He and she were really going their separate ways. That day, Lily got up early, fetched a basin of water, set up a ladder, and wiped the sign on top of the shop until it was spotless, as bright as a mirror. In the thin morning mist, Ryan was also leaving, carrying his suitcase. When he passed by the Lily family kite shop, he stopped. Lily, he called up to her, his voice carrying the unique tone of a teenager. Lily turned her head. She was still holding a wet rag in her hand. The two of them looked up and down at each other and remained silent for a long time. You're such a fool, Ryan said softly after a long time. The thin morning mist gradually dissipated, and sunlight shone down little by little, unconsciously casting a golden glow around him. I'm leaving. Don't miss me too much. You silly girl, take care of yourself. I'll come back to see you when I'm on vacation. The boy waved his hand and turned to leave. Lily stood on the ladder, watching him disappear into the distance for a long time, then lowered her head and burst into tears. From now on, they would be separated. From now on, their destinies would be very different. From now on, she would be the only one walking that long bluestone path. Z University, in front of the dormitory building, the sky was getting dark. Lily stubbornly waited for Ryan, unwilling to leave. People pointed and whispered at her. She was expressionless, just looking up at the window. Those who didn't know what was going on shook their heads at the large kite on her back and speculated that it was some kind of performance art. Little did they know that the huge azure phoenix kite was the symbol of her kite shop and that she always carried it with her when she was away from home. At this time, the sky was getting darker and the evening wind blew through Lily's clothes and hair. She blinked her eyes, still unwilling to leave, but her thoughts were drifting far away. Ryan broke his promise. He didn't return to the old town for a whole year. Perhaps his university life was too wonderful and he couldn't spare the time, nor did he have the time to care about Lily waiting for him in Jiangnan. Over the past year, Lily's craftsmanship had improved, and she was able to make all kinds of lifelike kites. Customers came in droves, and some came from thousands of miles away. The kite shop's business was also getting better and better. But she often spaced out, looking at the pawn shop across the street, wondering when Ryan would come back. Ryan's grandfather felt sorry for her and called again and again, but he couldn't get his grandson to move. He personally visited the kite shop, held the grandson's wife's hand, and was full of apology and affection. Why don't you go to the university to find that brat, Lily? Tell him that this is what Grandpa wants and that he must come back quickly. When you come back, you should get married quickly, so as not to have too many dreams at night. Unfortunately, Lily came all the way to Ryan's university, but Ryan refused to go back with her. He was dragging Lily out of the campus and was determined to go to the airport to buy her a ticket back to the ancient town. Lily was stubborn and refused. The two of them got into a stalemate. Ryan got angry and ignored Lily, stomped back to the dormitory building, and went to sleep with his head covered. Lily was unfamiliar with the place. She was carrying a kite and waited for Ryan downstairs in the dormitory building. She waited until evening. The clouds were thick and the mountains were full of rain. The students in the campus began to flee everywhere. Lily stood alone downstairs, holding the Azure Phoenix kite tightly in her arms, fearing that it would get wet. She bit her lip and finally couldn't help but shout, "Ryan, Ryan." In the midst of lightning and thunder, a figure ran out of the dormitory building. Lily's eyes lit up. The young man running towards her with an umbrella was gentle, handsome, and sincere, but it wasn't Ryan. "Hello, I'm Ethan, Ryan's roommate. He told you not to wait for him, and to go back quickly. Or I can find you a place to stay." Lily checked into a hotel near the school, and Ethan arranged everything. He even insisted on paying for it. "It doesn't matter. Ryan has already said hello, and he will find him to reimburse when he gets back. Don't worry." The young man smiled kindly, instantly shortening the distance with Lily and making her relax a lot. But why could Ryan say hello, but not come and arrange it himself? When Lily asked in the room, Ethan, who was about to go out, stopped, then turned his head and looked into Lily's dark eyes, feeling a little embarrassed and unbearable. "Well, in fact, Ryan has another thing to tell you. He now has a girl he likes, called Claire, who is from the dance academy. Do you understand?" Afraid of meeting and creating too many ties, so he decided to cut the knot quickly. He didn't want Lily to suddenly ruin his current peaceful life. These unspoken meanings were not difficult to understand. Of course, Lily understood them all. She was silent for a long time and finally blinked her eyes in the door with Ethan's uneasy eyes and smiled at him. "Thank you, Ethan." Lily began to become a special sight at Z University, attracting a lot of bees and butterflies because of her unique eye-catching, but they were all blocked by Ethan without showing any signs. He has become Lily's flower protector. Ryan was very grateful for this. "Good brother, you're loyal." Ethan punched him on the shoulder. "Come on, what's up with you hiding from her like this? Can you take responsibility?" Ryan pretended to rub his shoulders exaggeratedly. "Brother, can I take this kind of responsibility? If I take it, I have to go back and childhood sweetheart marriage. Why do you do it?" Ethan froze for a moment and actually started thinking seriously. If it's someone like Lily, it's okay. The accident happened on an ordinary afternoon. As soon as Ryan received a call from Claire's roommate, he rushed to the dance studio. Claire accidentally fell and fractured her bone while practicing dancing, and the reason was that someone suddenly called her at the door. The culprit was none other than Lily. Her original intention was to see what Ryan's sweetheart looked like. She finally found the dance studio, but she couldn't tell who was who in the house full of girls, so she tentatively called Claire's name. This call caused trouble. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean it, I just called her." Faced with Ryan, who rushed over, Lily's face was pale and at a loss. Ryan was furious. "What do you mean just? She was practicing dancing. What did you suddenly call her for?" He pushed her with his hand. Lily fell backwards unpreparedly. Fortunately, Ethan, who followed closely behind, grabbed her, but still heard a crack sound. It wasn't that she fell somewhere, but a section of the bones of the Azure Phoenix kite on her back was broken. Lily's face changed drastically. "Kite, my kite is broken." Ryan couldn't care so much. He didn't look at Lily again and rushed Claire to the infirmary. Ethan took down the kite for Lily and carefully checked it, constantly comforting her. "Don't worry, it's just a small break. It should be able to be repaired." Outside the infirmary, when Lily and Ethan arrived, Ryan stood up and reprimanded Lily angrily. "Do you know that Claire is going to participate in the competition soon? What did you go to her for? You harmed her by getting injured at this critical moment. Do you know how sad she is crying inside?" Ethan quickly stood in front of Lily. "Calm down. This is an accident. Lily didn't want to." Ryan roared. "Didn't want to? What else does she want? I'm sick of living in hiding." He grabbed Lily, who was pale, ignored the tears in her eyes, and issued an eviction order. "I'll say it one last time, Lily. Can you stop disturbing my life? What age is it? Don't mention childhood sweetheart to me. Just go back to the ancient town. I don't want to see you again. Even though Ryan ruthlessly issued an eviction order, he still didn't drive away the stubborn Lily. She stayed up all night and finally repaired the precious Azure Phoenix kite. Ethan found all the repair materials. The young man ran many streets, sweating profusely, and exhausted his mind to put together those uncommon special materials. He was afraid that Lily would be sad, and accompanied her to help her and asked her about her life in the ancient town with Ryan. Perhaps out of curiosity, or perhaps some subtle burgeoning thoughts, he couldn't help but want to know about their past. March pawnshop, June kite shop, childhood sweethearts, growing up together. The years in the ancient town were quiet and beautiful, like a solidified amber, as if the past scenes happened yesterday. When he heard that Ryan chose to go to college and Lily chose to become the successor of the kite shop, they said goodbye that morning and finally went their separate ways. Lily's eyes turned red. She took a deep breath and smiled at Ethan. Do you also think I'm stupid? Ethan looked at the girl in front of him. Although she was the same age, she had a unique tranquility and peace, as if she had come from 1,000 years ago, with a kind of yellowish and simple light and shadow, exuding an unspeakable charming taste. No, I think. Ethan looked directly into Lily's eyes and said 5 words seriously. He doesn't understand you. Lily was stunned. Ethan couldn't help but get closer. His clear voice contained gentle kindness. It's also a coincidence. My great-uncle is a cultural relic restorer, more precisely, a mural restorer. He has been to many places and restored many precious cultural heritages. Sometimes he stays in the kiln for more than half a year. He does those tedious and arduous restoration work day after day and doesn't even take care of his body. Do you think he's stupid? He doesn't think so. He just doesn't want those ancient civilizations carved on the walls to be lost. He travels north and south, buries his head in hard work, doesn't seek personal rewards, and only asks to continue those precious ancient cultures. The warm yellow light shone on Lily's fair face. Ethan stared at her eyes and said word by word, "There are some people in this world who insist on doing things that others think are very stupid, even if they devote their whole lives to it. Others may not understand, but they cannot make arbitrary comments, let alone say a word stupid dismissively. Do you agree?" The water mist filled his vision. No one had ever said these words to Lily. Those unresolved knots in those years seemed to be quietly resolved in such comfort. "Thank you, Ethan." She thanked him like this for the second time, but the young man raised the corners of his lips and smiled cleanly and clearly. "Just call me Ethan." The name was also given to me by my great-uncle, the brightest star in the south. Do you think he stayed in the dark kiln for too long and wanted to put more light on me? Lily was successfully amused, and her heart became warmer. The young man in front of her seemed to really have light on him, illuminating and dispelling all her haze. "You're so bright, then I'll have to borrow more light in the future. After all, this is your great-uncle's kindness." Lily, who has always been quiet, rarely joked. The two looked at each other and smiled, and something flowed silently, softly and comfortably, filling their hearts. Early the next morning, Lily packed up her mood and, accompanied by Ethan, went to the infirmary to visit Claire again, but she didn't expect that she just happened to hear her conversation with Ryan. "Actually, my roommates all said that they think your fellow villager sister is a little strange. Not only has she been pestering you, but she also ran to me and suddenly called me when I was practicing a difficult move. This caused me to be frightened. And fell. They all think it's too coincidental. Maybe she did it on purpose." I told them not to guess, but I always feel a little awkward in my heart. The not-too-loud voice reached the ears outside the door without missing a word. Lily's face turned pale instantly, and Ethan quickly said, "Stop listening to their gossip. The clear is clear. You just need to have a clear conscience." He wanted to say something more, but Ryan's voice came from inside. "Claire, your roommates must be thinking too much. This should just be an accident." Lily didn't want to. "Maybe, but anyway, my leg is injured, and I don't know when it will get better." Claire's emotions seemed to be very low, and she started sobbing again. Ryan naturally comforted her quickly. "Don't worry, during the time you're healing, I'll be your crutch. I won't go anywhere, I'll just stay with you every day until you recover. You'll definitely be able to make it to the competition. Don't worry, I'll be with you." Claire inside finally smiled through her tears, but thought of something and hesitated. "But there's one more thing, I don't know if I should tell you. Yesterday after the injury, Your fellow villager sister was kicked out by you. She went to my dormitory and left a box of ointment for my roommate, asking them to give it to me. But what? Claire hesitated and finally said in a stammering voice at Ryan's urging, but my roommates checked and found that the ointment is a very scary brand. The hormones are seriously exceeded, and it has been on the news before, and it has harmed many people. Many victims have skin ulcers. Lily's face changed suddenly, and Ethan became even more angry and wanted to push the door open immediately. What nonsense is she talking about here? I went with you to send the medicine yesterday. The medicine is obviously made by the old Chinese medicine practitioner in your ancient town. How can there be a brand? There is not a word written on the box, and it's on the news. She is playing palace intrigue. The so-called poison with excessive hormones is actually a box of ointment boiled with pure Chinese medicine. The children in the ancient town have some falls and sprains, and they all use this. Lily and Ryan used this ointment when they were young. The effect was very good, so Lily wanted to send it to Claire, hoping that she would get better soon and not delay the competition. Who would have thought that Claire would tell such an absurd lie to frame Lily? Outside the door, Lily grabbed Ethan and shook her head, seeming to want to hear Ryan's answer. There was silence in the room for a while, and Ryan said with a frown, "Could your roommates have checked wrong?" He had been away from the ancient town for too long, and he didn't remember the Chinese herbal ointment he used to use, so he subconsciously thought that Claire's roommates had made a mistake. No. Claire was anxious and suddenly felt wronged. They all care about me, and they definitely couldn't have made a mistake. The brand of the ointment is clear, and it comes out as soon as you search online. Ryan, don't you believe me? Lily clenched her hands tightly, and her heart was in her throat. She had never waited for an answer so nervously. Soon, Ryan's vow came from the room. Claire, don't worry, I believe you. Of course I believe you. It seemed that the breath was released in an instant. Lily blinked her eyes blankly, and her nails were deeply embedded in her palms, but she couldn't feel a trace of pain. Ethan couldn't bear it any longer and was about to push open the door, but Lily grabbed her. The girl's eyes were covered with a layer of water mist. She shook her head, moved her mouth, and only said silently, "Let's go." No explanation is needed, no confrontation is needed. If there is no such trust in the friendship between childhood sweethearts, what is she still struggling to insist on? Lily and Ethan left, silently, like a kite flying away from afar, and they couldn't hear the sentence from behind the door. But I think this must be a misunderstanding. Even if there is really a problem with the brand of the ointment, it's not Lily's intention. She just doesn't understand these, was fooled by the drugstore owner, and bought this hormone ointment too. Claire, don't take it to heart. After a pause, Ryan said firmly, Lily and I grew up together since we were young, and I know her personality very well. She is a simple, silly girl, and she is too pure, and she will never have any intention of harming others. As if he didn't expect Ryan to react like this, Claire took a long time to recover and said awkwardly, "Are you so sure?" It's hard to know a person's heart by looking at his face. How can there be so many conclusive things in the world? Yes, I'm sure, I believe her. In front of the hospital bed, Ryan suddenly stood up. The sunlight outside the window shone on his eyebrows, handsome and resolute, as if he had returned to the boy in the ancient town. He said word by word to the surprised Claire, "Don't let your roommates guess anymore, and don't always say bad things about Lily behind her back. I don't like to listen to it. She's not a strange person. She's a very good girl." After a pause, he took a deep breath. Very good, very good. For me, this is the most conclusive thing in the world. Lily saw Ryan again at a pottery exhibition held at the university. Ethan was by her side, while Claire was on Ryan's arm. They hadn't been in contact for almost a week. The two had been inexplicably stuck until they unexpectedly met at this art exhibition. Ethan glanced at Claire, who looked a bit uncomfortable, and smiled faintly. "Claire, your leg seems to be healing remarkably fast. It hasn't even been a week, and you're already hopping around at an exhibition." His words were clearly sarcastic. Claire's pretty face flushed red, but Ethan continued relentlessly. "Isn't it supposed to take 100 days to recover from a bone injury? Looks like it. Wasn't that serious after all? The way you were crying in the dance studio, and the way your roommates were ready to tear Lily apart, I thought you'd be bedridden until the end of the semester." Ethan was extremely popular at school. Not only was he handsome, but he was also known for his high IQ. Even when rejecting the girls who adored him, he was always gentle and considerate, never carelessly trampling on or hurting any girl's feelings. This was the first time he had ever been so sharply sarcastic towards someone, especially a goddess as well known as Claire. "Ethan, why are you being so sarcastic?" Ryan's eyes had been on Lily all along. He had regretted being so heartless and brutally driving her away outside the infirmary that day. However, being a young man, he couldn't bring himself to admit it. He had also been busy taking care of Claire, so he hadn't had time to look for Lily. But Lily hadn't contacted him either. Ryan didn't know about the little interlude that had occurred in the meantime. He just assumed that Lily had been hurt by his eviction order and was holding a grudge against him, which was why she hadn't come to find him. Now, the two had unexpectedly met at this pottery exhibition. Ryan was both surprised and delighted. Looking at Lily, who was noticeably thinner, he felt a twinge of pain in his heart. Just as he was about to ask her how she had been, Ethan dropped this barrage of acerbic words. Seeing that Claire was about to cry, Ryan quickly rushed to defend her. "Ethan, what's wrong with you? Can't you see I'm supporting Claire? Her leg hasn't fully recovered. She can walk, but she can't dance yet. I just thought she was feeling cooped up in bed, so I helped her out for a walk and to get some fresh air. What are you spouting nonsense for?" "Huh." Ethan scoffed and glanced Claire up and down. Who's being sarcastic and who's gossiping behind people's backs, making up lies and arbitrarily slandering others? "Ethan, stop it." Lily's face changed, and she was just about to pull Ethan away when Ryan blocked her path. His eyes darkened. "What do you mean? Make yourself clear." Once things were brought out into the open, right and wrong would naturally become clear. "Ryan, ask yourself, you grew up with Lily in the old town. Don't you know what kind of person she is?" It was as if a blow had landed on his head. Ryan was stunned. He suddenly looked at Lily. So, that was why she hadn't come to find him? Claire also never expected that she would be exposed in public. Her face immediately turned pale, and she explained with a sob, It was all my roommate said. I didn't know it was like this. They must have made a mistake. Lily, I'm sorry, I wrongly accused you." "Still acting? How fake," Ethan said. Ethan couldn't listen any longer. He grabbed Lily and turned to leave, but was blocked by Ryan again. "Wait." Lily's hands were being held by two people. Ethan and Ryan each occupied one side, and the air was filled with the smell of gunpowder. "How long have I known her, and how long have you known her? How do you know I don't believe her?" Ryan was inexplicably annoyed. He glared at Lily. "You only listened to half the story, like a silent gourd. Is it fun to think wildly on your own? When did I say I didn't believe you?" Lily was stunned. Ethan pulled her closer to him and met Ryan's burning gaze for her. "Don't be so fierce with her. Have you ever really understood Lily? Respected her choices? Approved of her dreams?" Ryan was momentarily speechless. He looked at Lily. "You told him everything?" Looking at the two of them standing together, he suddenly felt inexplicably angry. "Yes, I don't understand. What's so important about those ancient kite-making skills, that cultural heritage? Is it worth you throwing yourself into it, dedicating yourself, and becoming some damn successor?" Ryan gripped Lily's hand tightly, never feeling so eager to pull her to his side. "Wake up, Lily. Times have changed. Now that technology is so advanced, what new and fun things aren't there? Who would still buy those old kites? Does your persistence really have any meaning? I've told you a long time ago, let you leave with me." This time, Ryan didn't finish his words because Lily had already violently shook off his hand. "How do you know my persistence has no meaning?" The girl stood under the azure sky with the huge azure phoenix kite on her back. Her long skirt and hair fluttered in the wind, and her eyes were full of tenacity. "Ryan, this is the path I chose myself. I like it very much. I don't need you to acknowledge my meaning. You're not a fish, and I'm not you. I'm willing to accept my mission. Everyone goes their own way. Don't force it." Her soft voice carried an unparalleled firmness. The girl straightened her slender spine and turned to leave. Ethan also left a sentence before turning around. "Ryan, don't be so arrogant. Put away your ignorance. Technology is the future, culture is the past." "It is. This group of fools that you sneer at that connect the future and the past. Passing on ancient civilization and art is the meaning of this continuation." Seeing the two of them about to leave, Ryan's breathing caught in his throat. Ignoring Claire's obstruction, he stepped forward and shouted, "Okay, Let's make a bet. The young man clenched his fists, feeling like a fire was burning in his heart. Lily, don't you want me to go back with you? As long as you sell 1,000 kites within a week, I'll go back to the old town with you to fulfill the marriage contract without saying a word. How about that? Selling 1,000 kites in a week. Ryan's request was both tricky and harsh, but Lily agreed to the bet, not to bring Ryan back to the old town, but more as a way of proving herself. Proving her choice and her path. People started setting up stalls to sell kites on the campus of Z University. Lily made a phone call and really transported 1,000 kites from the kite shop in the old town. The source of goods was there, but where were the sales channels? After guarding the stall and selling for a day, she found that she had sold less than 10 kites at night. Lily sighed under the lamp. Ethan swept over the kites, each with different shapes and lifelike expressions. After frowning for a long time, he suddenly said, "This won't work. We have to find another way." When Ethan showed up with a camera the next day, Lily realized what he meant by another way. Marketing and promotion. Even good wine is afraid of deep alleys. Now everything is inseparable from promotion. Lily, I want to use you as a model to shoot a special film about the kites of the ancient town, taking a humanistic approach, using kites to convey emotions, targeting university couples, because in a few days, it's a very special day. May 20th, 520, May 20th, not a holiday, but better than a holiday. It must be said that as a top student in the finance department, Ethan had a good business mind. Without further delay, he did what he said he would do. He used his good relationship to call a group of younger students to help. There were many people and strength was great. This was probably a special film shot in the shortest time. The location was chosen in a scenic spot near Z University. The theme was a pair of young men and women during the Republican period, using kites to convey emotions and eventually joining hands to grow old together. The entire special film took a classical, beautiful, and positive energy route, playing the sentimental card, and wanted to arouse people's pursuit of classical romance in modern society. The special film was called Kite Dream. In short, the keywords were fantasy and sentiment, classics and the present. Combining the particularity of 520, the romance was brought to the extreme. All the preliminary work was prepared. The heroine was naturally Lily. After selecting the male lead for a long time, everyone turned their attention to the gentle and handsome Ethan. Ethan did not refuse. Instead, he naturally took Lily's hand. Lily's face turned red, but Ethan's hand held hers even more forcefully. If we're going to do it, let's do it big. Lily, are you willing to make this dream with me? The passion of the students is always endless. Shooting, editing, composing music, adding subtitles. A group of people were busy day and night. The finished product of Kite Dream was finally broadcast on the school screen the day before 520. Ethan not only found the relationship with the school television station to allow Kite Dream to be broadcast on the campus, but also used the school's official media account. The beautiful Republican short film became popular online and caused a small sensation. Almost within a day, Z University spread a saying madly. Kites convey emotions, grow old together. 520, love her and take her to fly kites. If the whole process can be said to have seen Ryan like a fisherman fishing on the shore, forcibly suppressing all his emotions and watching calmly. Then, when he walked across the campus, he looked up and accidentally saw Lily's flying figure on the big screen. His heartstrings moved, and he felt an unprecedented feeling. Her pure face, wearing a pure Republican student dress, holding the line in her hand, running in the wind, her clothes fluttering, her long hair dancing, so beautiful that it was moving. Kites fly in the sky, and figures become pairs on the ground. In the big screen, Lily and Ethan looked at each other and smiled, nestled in the grand twilight in the melodious and emotional soundtrack. So beautiful, so well matched. Ryan's eyelids kept jumping, and a sour taste welled up in his heart. He inexplicably gritted his teeth. Once upon a time, he and Lily were also snuggling in the twilight of the ancient town. The long bluestone road had always been walked by them side by side. The first kite Lily made by hand was engraved with his name. The pure girl, clearly was his little wife. Loneliness and unwillingness came together. Ryan didn't know where his regret came from at this moment. He just stared at the big screen and suddenly had an unspeakable feeling. How did Ethan get so close to Lily? Was he being stolen by his wall corner? Heaven does not disappoint those who work hard. Ethan's marketing and promotion really succeeded. On this day of 520, the kite stalls were almost overcrowded, and everyone stretched their arms, fearing that they would not be able to grab them from others. Give me one too. I want a butterfly style. I want blue. Where's the pen? Where's the pen? Just write the names of both parties on it, right? Hey, can I write a few more words? There are too many things I want to say. It was truly an unprecedented event. In addition to the flocking couples, it also attracted many single people who wanted to confess their love to their loved ones, and some students who were working hard to pass the postgraduate entrance examination. In short, everything they wanted to say about themselves could be written on the kites and released into the blue sky. Z University had never been so lively. The kites filled with clear skies made people dizzy, and shouts resounded through the sky. It was the most passionate mark of youth. XXX of the news class 1 of the School of Literature, I like you. I have liked you for a long time, do you know? I want to pass the postgraduate entrance examination. I want to go to Communication University of China. Kite, send my dream to the blue sky. XXX, you are the best. One day your paintings will be sold. You will definitely succeed. 1,000 kites were sold out in one go, and the supply was in short supply. Even Lily, who had always been calm, couldn't help but smile. As if infected by everyone's atmosphere, she took off the Azure Phoenix kite on her back and looked at Ethan, who was holding a dragon. The two looked at each other and nodded knowingly. With a cheer, they pulled the string and joined the team of kites flying in the sky. She had never ran so recklessly before. Under the blue sky and white clouds, it seemed that all her troubles had been thrown away, leaving only a hearty happiness. I don't regret it. I don't regret becoming the successor of the kite shop. I want to pass on the Ryan family skills. I want to make more and better kites. The long wind whistled, blowing through her clothes and hair. Lily ran and shouted loudly, and at the end, her eyes were filled with tears, and her heart was agitated and uncontrollable. She seemed to see again that morning, at the end of the thin mist, the boy dragging his suitcase and waving goodbye to her. From then on, only she walked quietly on the Bluestone Road. He chose university, and she chose inheritance. There was no right or wrong, but everyone took different paths. As if everything had been let go, the obsessions lingering in her heart also dissipated with the long wind. Better to forget each other than to help each other in the world. Lily tightened the line and ran in the wind, shouting loudly again and again, I don't regret it, I don't regret it. She shouted until her voice was hoarse, shouted until she burst into tears, and finally, learned to let go. Ryan in the distance stood under the tree with Claire and didn't know how long he watched, until his vision blurred, and the slender figure in front of him gradually drifted away, and only the echoes of I don't regret it reverberated in his ears. Claire looked at the kites flying in the sky. Although she knew about the bet between Ryan and Lily, she didn't care too much. She had enough confidence and was determined that Ryan would choose her between Lily and her. Going back to the ancient town to get married or something was just a joke, and it shouldn't be taken seriously. It was just that the young man next to her had not moved for a long time, and Claire turned her head strangely, but exclaimed, Ryan, why are you crying? Ryan reached out to stroke it, shook his head and smiled, and the voice overflowing from his lips was so low that he couldn't hear, No, because I saw a fool. Just like under the Lily family sign that year, standing in the thin mist and morning light, that fool who was full of courage, stubborn and unchanged. The gamble of 1,000 kites has been completed. Before Lily approached Ryan, Claire had already taken action. Ryan, I'm going abroad. Will you go to study abroad with me? Isn't this what your dad has always expected of you? Perhaps it was a blessing in disguise. Claire's competition order was adjusted after her accidental fracture, and she happened to be favored by a famous international judge who suddenly came on the last day, and she got the opportunity to go abroad for training. She was convinced that Ryan would go abroad with her, so when Ryan said, I'm sorry, she was stunned and could hardly believe her ears. Just think of me as a fool. I suddenly realized that there are some things in my life that I can't lose at all. After stumbling around and looking for flowers in the fog, he finally saw his heart clearly and understood his original shallowness and ignorance. Lily was right. Everyone has their own pursuits, and he shouldn't underestimate her choices and dreams. But the most shouldn't have been not cherishing her. The girl who went to school with him in town, flew kites in spring, went to the river to fish, and walked home together in the setting sun. The girl who would bring him lunch, wash his bike for him, and silently smooth things over for him in front of the adults after he was naughty and did something wrong, and who always made concessions and tolerated him. I want to go back to her, fulfill the bet, and let her be my real little wife. This time, I really don't want to hurt her heart again. On the day he sent Claire abroad, Ryan was full of guilt, but Claire looked indifferent, sat with him at the airport, and revealed a few past events that made Ryan unbelievable, as if she were chatting casually. Actually, I deliberately twisted my leg. How could I be so easily frightened? I just wanted you to hate Lily and want you to have only me in your heart. My roommates didn't say bad things about Lily behind my back either. Those were all my dark thoughts, including that box of ointment. I also lied to you. I did all this because I didn't want to lose you. Perhaps women's intuition is particularly accurate. You won't know how afraid I am of your suddenly emerging childhood sweetheart, the fiancé, who grew up with you in the ancient town to steal you. Unfortunately, the facts prove that what is yours, and what is not yours can't be obtained no matter how hard you try. Claire stood up, put on her sunglasses, and covered her red and swollen eyes. Ryan, I'm leaving. She took a deep breath and pulled out a bitter smile. I lied to you, and you abandoned me. We're even. Go back to her. Wish you good luck. When Ryan stopped Lily and Ethan on campus, they were pushing their suitcases and were about to go to the airport. Ryan hadn't had a chance to see Lily for a while because she had followed Ethan to several places and filmed several sets of special films about ancient town kites. There was no signal in the mountains, and Ryan's calls went unanswered, and there were no replies to the messages he sent. He finally understood how difficult it was to wait anxiously. The person who didn't respond in the past was him. The person who always stayed in place and waited hopelessly was Lily. But now that the identities have been reversed, Ryan realized how much he used to not know how to cherish. On the tree-lined path, he stopped the two of them standing side by side, and his eyes were full of uncertainty. Where are you going to shoot this time? How long will you be gone? He had received Lily's farewell message before he would meet them here. He originally thought it was another outing to shoot, but who knew that Lily shook her head and said softly, Ryan, I'm going back to the old town. Ethan is going back with me to film a promotional video for the Lily family's kite shop, so I specially made an appointment with you to say goodbye. Unknowingly, the summer vacation has quietly arrived, and Ethan has already bought the ticket to go back to the ancient town with Lily. Ryan was caught off guard and was stunned. Then, what about the bet last time? His voice trembled. Lily had never replied to him. In fact, he had already vaguely sensed something was wrong in his heart, but he had been deceiving himself. His little wife would not run away and would still be waiting for him in place, just like in the past. As long as he looked back, he could see her standing there, smiling shallowly, gently and tolerantly, never leaving, never disappearing, like a fixed picture in the ancient town. But this time, he seemed to be wrong. A breeze blew through the forest, raising the clothes and hair of the three people. Ryan suddenly turned red-eyed and wanted to hold Lily's hand. Didn't you want me to go back with you to get married? Ethan's eyes moved, and he wanted to stop Ryan's outstretched hand, but Lily took 2 steps back to avoid him. Ryan's body suddenly stiffened. Lily stood under the long sky, but smiled at him, still as gentle as a small stream. I don't want to know. Why? Ryan's eyes turned redder. Lily pursed her lips and actually asked him a question. Haven't you always been resisting this childhood sweetheart marriage? Resisting to the point that he didn't return to the ancient town for a whole year, and didn't even make a phone call to Lily, leaving her far away in that Jiangnan town, ignoring her as if he had made up his mind to let her give up. Finally, he got his wish. Ryan, I used to wait and wait in the ancient town, and I always couldn't wait for you to come back. I would be sad and worried, but the kite's release last time made me understand a lot of things and took away all my obsessions. I don't like you anymore, and I won't force you to fulfill the marriage contract. In the past, I was too stubborn and immersed in the old times with you, but in fact, we have all grown up. I have my own path to take, and you also have the life you want to live. We don't interfere with each other, and we are both well. This is the most perfect ending. The girl's voice was soft and pleasant, but it was like a bolt from the blue, hitting Ryan's heart heavily. He panicked completely, shook his head and stammered, No, it's not like this. Lily, are you serious? Very serious as I once decided to stay in the kite shop. Lily was like this, seemingly weak on the outside, but in fact, her heart was extremely firm. Once she made a decision, she would never change it easily. I figured it out, I shouldn't be anyone's shadow. Instead of chasing others, it's better to let the starlight illuminate myself. With a slight smile, Lily suddenly raised Ethan's hand in front of Ryan, and their fingers interlocked. The happy look deeply hurt Ryan's eyes. This is the starlight that can illuminate me, Ryan. From today onwards, I am no longer your little wife. Don't worry, I will explain clearly to Grandpa. You don't have to worry, just go back to the ancient town more often when you have time. Grandpa misses you very much. The wind swept across the sky. Watching Lily and Ethan leave hand in hand, Ryan's throat choked and his heart was cut like a knife. He didn't have any reason or position to stop them for a while. After all, his little wife was lost by his own hands. Why did he see his heart so late? No, perhaps long ago, Lily had always lived in the depths of his heart, but the young man had a thin face, and he said one thing and meant another. He always regarded liking as a habit, and over time, he didn't care. It seemed like yesterday. At that time, by the river in the ancient town, a group of childhood friends were playing and teasing him and Lily. He reached out and splashed water at them. Go. What age is it? Why are you still doing that? Childhood sweetheart marriage. It was just a joke when we were kids. Can you take it seriously? Later, after everyone had played enough and came up from the river, he saw the lunchbox Lily sent on the small hillside at a glance, and his friends immediately gathered around, clamoring to snatch food. He patted away those wolf claws and carefully protected the lunchbox. What are you robbing? This was sent by my little wife, you don't have a share. His companions laughed at him. TSK, you said earlier that the childhood sweetheart marriage doesn't count, and now you're calling her little wife again? I can call it whatever I want, go aside, what do you know? The sunlight shone on him, and there were still water droplets hanging on his eyelashes. He happily opened the lunchbox and couldn't hide the smile on his lips, muttering to himself. She's just my little wife, she will be my little wife for the rest of my life. Cicadas chirped in midsummer, time passed, and without realizing it, many years had passed. It turned out that a lifetime was so short.